Hi guys, it's Sophie. So today we're doing my May book haul for you. As you know, I was trying to be really good in April and not buy anything. I ended up buying one book, but come on, that's not that bad. It does mean I have quite a few to show you this month because I've kind of gone on a bit of a rebound, but oh well, it's fine. We're also going to split this into two halves. I have just a sort of standard haul and then I have a few Man Booker International books to show you as well. So the first one I grabbed was one of the new little black classics. They are so pretty and they were just all over Waterstones, so I wanted to get all of them. I only got one, I did well, and the one I got was Dante's Love That Moves the Sun and Other Stars, and these are a collection of cantos from his Paradiso. So Dante's Inferno is normally the one that people read, but Paradiso is like good stuff instead. They're really hard to read. I've read 2 cantos so far, but they are one of those things you're going to need a little bit of like a reference to, I think, and I'm working my way through them, but it's such a tiny book and I've only read 10 pages. And then I have a couple of Cormac McCarthy's. I have Child of God, and if you follow me on Goodreads you'll understand that this book is a big deal and it's kind of magic because this is my new favourite book ever. If someone asks me, I'm not sure I'd say this because it's quite graphic, but this will be my new favourite book, and that means a lot. It's been 5 years since my favourite book has changed, and I can't wait to sort of talk to you a bit more about why. I'm probably going to do a Cormac McCarthy video when I finish reading the third of his novels I picked up recently. Potentially I might read a fourth before because I think he's got 11 or so, but I think I'll update you as a whole on his writing then. So I've got The Road, Child of God, and I had to get No Country for Old Men. So this is the third one that everyone sort of knows of, and then the other ones are lesser known, so I thought I would just power through the really well known ones, and if I enjoyed all 3 and sort of still really like the writing style, then I will delve into his sort of backlist of other stuff that he's written. But this story is essentially about a man who stumbles across this scene where there is sort of all this heroin, there are all these dead bodies, and really it's just like a massive crime scene, and he has to decide whether or not he wants to just leave it and say he's never been there, or whether he's going to take any of the drugs or any of the money and try and use it himself and further his life with it. He decides he's going to take them, and it's about his life sort of running away from the consequences of that action. If it's anything like his other stuff, it's going to be really fast paced, really easy to sort of whip through, and this is my Sunday plan now, is just to sit down and blitz through No Country for Old Men. I'm really excited. And then the next one I have is a collection of short stories. It's The Girl in the Flammable Skirt by Aimee. I believe this is the same author who wrote The Peculiar Sadness of Lemon Cake, about a girl who can taste emotions in her baking. So it already sounds kind of weird, and I just needed a few sort of fantastical stories, I think. To be honest, the description on Goodreads really sold me. I'll read that to you quickly to see if it sells you too, I suppose. A grief-stricken librarian decides to have sex with every man who enters her library. A half-mad, unbearably beautiful heiress follows a strange man home, seeking total sexual abandon, but he only wants to watch game shows. A woman falls in love with a hunchback, but when his deformity turns out to be a prosthesis, she leaves him. A wife whose husband has just returned from the war struggles with the heart-rending question: can she still love a man with no lips? So they just sound a bit weird and wacky, and I'm really up for that at the moment. I am trying to sort of hold myself back from just diving straight into this afternoon. And then the next one is like a proper non-fiction. So you know how there's kind of like popular non-fiction that you can sort of sit down and you're like, oh, interesting, and that's like the majority of the non-fiction I read, and then every now and again I pick up something and I'm like, whew, like this is proper non-fiction. So this is The Man Who Closed the Asylums by John Foote, and this is sort of really interesting to me. Obviously you guys know I'm interested in mental health in general, but in terms of like the history of mental health and where there's sort of movements in mental health today, because they're still evolving so much. Like every few years they're like, oh yeah, we thought this thing could never be helped, and now look at this person, they're alive and they're fine. But yeah, so where all those things have come from, how did we get from a point where we were just locking people up and just leaving them to die in like holes to a point where we can actually treat people? And this is essentially talking about it says the revolution in mental health care in Italy. I completely forgot I also have The Outsider by Albert Camus. I picked this one up because everyone everywhere just keeps stressing me about it in real life, and I haven't read it, and it's tiny and it only took like an afternoon. And then moving on to the Man Booker Internationals, I've not got all of them, I've just picked up the ones so far that seemed sort of interesting to me, because I know time's short and I'm going to be sort of trying to read the Man Booker Internationals as a priority this month, and I'm going to do a review on each book that I do read for you. So the first one I have is Death by Water by Kenzaburo, and I'm most of the way through this one now. I'm going to finish this one off this afternoon and probably do a review for you guys tomorrow. And this is a sort of Japanese entry. It's about a sort of elderly author who is trying to write his last book, and it's kind of the book he's been struggling with his whole life. So that's the sort of general premise. We'll talk more soon. And then the next one I have is Han Kang's The Vegetarian. I know everyone's losing their heads over this book at the moment. I read Human Acts by her and quite enjoyed it, but it was a little bit too heavy for me, which is something I don't normally say. So yeah, it might be that this one doesn't get on with me, but we'll see. It's got so much good buzz at the moment that I thought might be worth just seeing what it's all about, and the fact it's on the Man Booker International is another sort of prompt for me to actually read it. So just in case somehow you have missed what this is all about, it's about a Korean woman who decides that she's no longer going to eat meat, and she's going to become a vegetarian, and it's a very sort of taboo thing to do, and everyone sort of treats her very strangely and doesn't really understand why she's making this decision, and it kind of makes her stand out from society to some extent. So I'm quite interested to see what happens with this storyline. It sounds quite different to Human Act. We will see. And then the next one I have is The Four Books by Lianke. So this is the Chinese entry. And I've heard really mixed things about this one. Every time I sort of try to look it up or sort of have a go and see what people are saying, some people seem to really like it, some people just say it's not for them. I know something weird happens about that stage of the book, and it puts a lot of people off, so we'll see. But the sort of basic gist of this is it's set in a re-education camp in China, so that sounds mega interesting. It's probably the one I'm most interested for, and it's focused around trying to change the minds of intellectuals at the time, and the characters in the book are labelled as their profession, so like the author, the poet, the philosopher, rather than like, you know, whatever their normal names are. So it's more about sort of the social aspect of that reform. It seems really creepy and really weird, and something I've never been able to touch on before, so I'm really excited to get into this one. And the next one I have is A General Theory of Oblivion by Eduardo Aguilusa. This is one of those books where you read the synopsis and you're like, stole my idea. If you write fiction, then you know what I'm talking about. You will have had an idea, you'll have written a novel, you've written a novella, and then you'll read someone else's synopsis and you're like, that's my thing but better, and that's kind of what I feel about this one. It's about a girl who has sequestered herself in her house, and begins sort of writing her life story in letters on her walls, and there's sort of conflict. I believe it's a sort of love interest where someone comes into her house, but really interested to see this one, even though it is slightly annoying because my brain is going, oh, that's the thing I was going to do, and all I'm going to do throughout is just think how much better this is than mine. I am really interested because it's always really cool just to see how someone else plays with a similar kind of idea, and I've never yet found anything that is like identical to what I've written. Normally the stories seem vaguely similar, but there's quite a lot of difference between them, and then it doesn't annoy me at all. I have A Cup of Rage and A Stranger's in My Mind on the way as well. They should potentially be here in the next few days, but they might take till midway through the month, so again I just thought I'd show you those first. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to be trying to work my way through the Man Booker Internationals soon, now basically, and after each one I want to do a review and just tell you what I thought of them, to give you a little bit of info about them, because whilst there's a lot of buzz in terms of sort of what I'd class as sort of standard or traditional reviews, I haven't seen too much stuff on BookTube around the Man Booker International this year, so I just thought I'd share my thoughts. And as you guys know, I'm quite a big fan of the Man Booker, so I'm really excited to try and push myself to read as many as I can. Thank you for sticking around. I know it's been a bit of a long video. I hope you're all doing really well, and I will see you soon, most likely in my review video for Death by Water. Have a lovely day, read as much as you can. Bye bye.